Hi YouTube, I'm Matt and I am about to go to the cinema to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I've always been a massive Indiana Jones fan since being a child, and he is one of my all-time favourite idols. No pun intended. I'm kind of predicting that it will be better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because I'd like to think that somebody somewhere has learnt a lesson of what not to do with an indie movie. But I'm not expecting it to be better than any of the original three. Logic dictates that the Dial of Destiny has something to do with time travel in some way, shape or form. I'm not entirely sure what I think about the idea of time travel in an Indiana Jones movie, if there actually is time travel or changing previous events. But I'm not expecting there to be any time travel or any reversing of time or changing of past events. I'm not thinking they're going to go down that road. I could be proved wrong, and I'll find out in a couple of hours. Having said that, Indiana Jones movies are known for delving into the paranormal or magic. Whichever way the story goes, I'm up for it. I'm optimistic about this movie. I'm also realistic because of what happened with the last one. So I guess I'm going in with lower expectations, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be very pleasantly surprised. So I'll check in with you guys after I've seen the movie for the rest of this review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Hi everyone, I'm back. I've been to see the movie. I'm going to give you my non-spoiler thoughts first, and then I will go into after a fair bit of warning of course, into the spoiler section. I enjoyed it. I sat in the cinema, I had a big screen Indiana Jones experience, which for me is worth the price of admission alone, just to see Indy on the big screen again. The sort of first act was brilliant. It's widely known, so I don't believe this to be a spoiler of sorts, but there's a great deal of de-aging happening in that first scene, which is set during World War II. I was distracted. It probably doesn't help that I'm very interested in movie making and editing and visual effects, so I often subconsciously look for video effects or what's going on in a scene. So I was looking at the de-aging, and there were a few moments here and there where it looked a little bit iffy, or it kind of stood out. But setting aside any issues of how good or otherwise the de-aging was, it was an amazing opening sequence of sort of vintage Indiana Jones, and then it cuts to 1969 for the rest of the movie. I was up for it. So Indy's going to be old. I haven't got a problem with that. He's ready to retire from lecturing. Then he gets wrapped up in this typical Indiana Jones adventure with all the usual craziness you expect. I've seen that some people weren't keen on Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, but I have absolutely no issue with her whatsoever. I like that the character had multi-levels to her. I like the setup of her being Indy's goddaughter and the kind of connection that brought to the two characters. There was some really interesting stuff there, and again, this is all stuff from the trailers. There was like the scuba diving stuff. I mean, I'm a scuba diver myself, so that was quite interesting for me, seeing the 60s equivalent of diving. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the exploits when they go into the cave. I loved the sequence in New York, through the parade with the horse and everything that happened there. It was widely publicised at the time that due to injuries, Harrison wasn't able to be there for the filming of that, so they used body double, and no doubt a stunt double as well, given all the stunts involved on the horse. But yes, there are moments where they've clearly tacked on Harrison's face and it looks slightly iffy. But let's face it, I've seen so many movies over the years where it's quite clearly not the actor there in the scene and it's obviously a stuntman. For instance, Die Hard, I mean, that's one of my all-time favourite movies, but every time I watch it, there's so many scenes where you can see that it's clearly not Bruce Willis. But you go with it, it's a movie, they use stuntmen. I haven't got a problem with that. And if, yes, they try and tack Harrison's face on it and it looks a little iffy, I'd probably rather that than looking at it and saying, yeah, that's not Harrison, that's the stuntman. It's a great scene, nice and action-packed, and I love the set decoration. And I know that was filmed, I'm sure it was in a city in Scotland, but it was brilliantly done. It looked like New York. And I love the occasion, the moon landing celebration. It's a really fun, vibrant, good scene, and I really enjoyed that. So when I got home, my wife asked me if I enjoyed the movie, and I said, yeah, I'm still processing it. Now, the reason I said that is not because I didn't enjoy the movie or I thought it was rubbish or anything like that, because I genuinely enjoyed the experience of seeing Indy on the big screen again and all the adventures that he went through. But there was something, and again I'll go into this more in a moment in my spoiler review, about the third act that didn't 100% gel with me. And again, I'll go into that in a moment. As a movie, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was my favourite movie. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I certainly enjoyed it. And it was a roller coaster ride of adventure and thrills and stunts, and pretty much what you'd want from an Indiana Jones movie. And Indy isn't at its prime, so in many ways it's never going to be like matching up to the original trilogy. However, I'm pleased to say I definitely enjoyed it more than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It wasn't as good as the original trilogy. My ranking for the original trilogy is Temple of Doom. That might not be a popular choice. Then Raiders, then Last Crusade. I'm now going to go into my spoiler review. So if you've not watched the movie yet, then please stop now and come back and watch the rest of this video once you've seen the film. So this is my official spoiler warning.
Don't look at it. Shut your eyes. Don't look at it no matter what happens.
So really, I think the only bits I really need to talk about in this spoiler review is just to get to the elephant in the room, really, which is, of course, the time travel.
Great Scott!
Now, before I watched the movie, I recorded my intro, and I did say there that I didn't think they'd go down the time travel road, but they clearly did. It was a little strange, but at the same time, so's the wrath of God coming out of the ark and turning into ghost and killing the melting faces of anybody who's not shut their eyes through the whole thing. So's the crazy magic that goes on in Temple of Doom, my favourite movie. And so's drinking from the cup of Christ to get everlasting life. So, you know, Indiana Jones has always had a strong element of the unbelievable or of science fiction that they've thrown in there. So this one was clearly no different. I just didn't think they'd go there with it. The other characters, Mads Mikkelsen, hopefully I've said that name right. I enjoyed his character. I thought his death was a little urgent. Would have expected maybe more of a fight with Indy or something like that. More of a bigger send-off for the big baddie than what he got. But his character throughout was good. I enjoyed it, and he's a great actor, and you know, he played the part well. There was a fair few background characters and sort of henchmen who were all fine at what they did. Antonio Banderas, a very short part there, but again, he did well with what he had. Harrison was great. Phoebe was good in what she did. And of course, Toby Jones as Indy's sidekick. Obviously, most of that is in the first act in the 40s, but he also features in the short flashback to the moments around his death. But he did a great job with the limited amount of screen time that he had. Now, with respect to the de-aging and the time travel, I'm going back this week to watch the movie again. I'm going to try and watch it with a more open mind and just to enjoy it for what it is, and that's what I'm hoping I can do when I go this week to see the movie. And it was a nice twist that Indy wanted to stay in the past. It seems like a logical thing that would come to Indiana Jones's mind at the end of his career, that yes, he would want to just be lost in history, the thing that he studied his entire life. I kind of knew he wouldn't as well, because I knew there would be some kind of resolution with the Marion storyline that they'd sort of teased earlier on. He goes back, he wakes up back in his apartment, and of course Sella, yes, another thing I haven't mentioned yet, Sella was great. I love seeing Sella in this movie. Could he have been in it more? For fan service, yes. For the point of the movie, no. He was in it enough that he needed to be for the story, but it was just great to see him. That scene, the reenactment of the scene from Raiders, was really nice, and that was very heartwarming and touching, and I enjoyed that. Yes, it was a bit of a sentimental ending, but why not? It's Indiana Jones and it's his life, and it's the perfect way for his life to finish. And there was, of course, that little grabbing the hat off the line. Is like his career is adventuring, is hung out to dry, but then he yanks it back at the last second. Just a little hint that maybe it's not really the end for Indiana Jones, when really we know it is. As far as a score for this movie, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it probably would have been slightly higher if the time travel thing hadn't have happened, if it had resolved in a different way. However, I may change my mind on second viewing when I watch it, but for now, my initial reaction is 7.5 out of 10. But it was a good Indiana Jones movie. Verging towards great, but not quite there. But it was definitely a good Indiana Jones movie, and I enjoyed it, and it was a great experience seeing Indy back on the big screen again. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, drop a comment below, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. and I'll see you next time.